everyone, welcome to Secondhand Blasters. This is Normatico here, and today we're going to be reviewing a blaster that you've probably seen in one of my videos before, but I went ahead and actually did something to that blaster, and I want to show you how I did it. So that being said, I had to go out and get a new blaster. Now, I did keep to my promise by never paying full price for a blaster, because I have another Fireshot. Now, the Fireshot is part of the Dragon Power series. You can see the price on here, $7.98 at Big Lots. That is lower than the $10.98 that it normally was. And I actually only paid $3.98 for this because it was half off of an already discounted price, which is pretty phenomenal. $4 for essentially a reskin of the Night Finder is not bad. It does not have any lights on it, but that's okay because the lights that came on the Night Finder weren't anything to write home with to begin with. So, yeah. Looking at the box itself, it is pretty cool. Not gonna lie, you have the design drawing here. This is the original design, the artist rendering of it prior to production, which is pretty awesome. You have a D&D character here as well. And all in all, it just screams Dungeons & Dragons. I love the box art for this. I wish that they would actually sell just this art. Who knows, if I can actually find this online, I might actually make some printouts and post them up on my D&D wall that is off camera, but just trust me, it exists. So, that being said, I'm going to open up this blaster really fast. I'm going to put it through its paces on the Chrono so you can see what it's like stock, and we'll go from there. Alright, so I went ahead and took it out of the box, and inside the box you get not only the blaster, but you also get 5 of the red elite darts. These special elite darts, they actually have this really cool, almost translucent tip. And the reason you get 5 is because you get the one inside the actual barrel, and then 4 additional that fit on this cool dart storage. So that is definitely a bonus compared to the Fire Strike and the Night Finder. The Fireshot itself, you don't have a light, but you get additional dart storage. And let's be honest with you, like I said, those lights, not the best thing in the world. So, it is real simple to activate. You just pull back on that priming lever, and the dart will go out that way. Regarding performance, you'll see on the chronograph here pretty soon that it should get about stock elite performance. These are pretty good blasters. When it comes to the actual Dragon Power series, I was impressed with almost every single one of them. I will be doing an upcoming review on the Ember Strike, which I have in my stock now. And yeah, it's just a fun series. This part right here, it is actually a rubber material, so you don't have to worry about accidentally hurting yourself or chipping off that by a simple impact. And much like the Skyblaze, you have the gold highlight on both sides of the blaster. This is what we've been talking about, Hasbro. It is a very pretty looking blaster. A lot of people were like, we didn't need a dragon design, but you know what? As a self-proclaimed D&D nerd, I love this. Now, I do want to call your attention to the Dungeons & Dragons ampersand logo here. It does exist on both sides, and that is a semi-clear plastic. So if you were really crafty, you could put an LED element in here and make that glow, which I think I might try that. Let's see. We'll see what we can do. Probably won't be in this video, maybe in the future, but I want to attempt that because I really like that, and I feel like something belongs there. Now we're going to go ahead and put this through the chrono. We're going to shoot all 5 darts and see if we can actually meet to the elite standards of about 70 feet per second. And then after that, I'm going to show you how we can actually truly unleash the Dragon Power in a Dragon Power blaster. Alright, so we're going to see if we can actually defeat that dragon. I would say that to defeat a dragon, we need at least 100 FPS. 79.2, not bad. $79.9. $74.8, going down. 77.7. $76.5. All right, so as you can see, the stock chrono levels were pretty impressive. 79.9 of a high, 74.8 of a low. So that averages to about 77.6 feet per second. That is very good for a elite level blaster. Now, can we get it to be higher? Well, we're going to have to, because that dragon requires at least 100 feet per second to be destroyed with a one-shot. And I don't want to go through that door back there unless my blaster is equipped to handle that dragon alone. Now, we are going to do a mod guide now, and that means that I need to take this blaster apart. There are a couple of things that we're going to need for this mod, so if you want to follow along at home, get ready. You are going to need a screwdriver. You are going to need a lever to actually pry apart the blaster. You are also going to need possibly a magnetic board to hold the screws on. This is not a necessity. Maybe even a bowl would just be fine, but this certainly does help to keep your screws from going all over the place. And also, you're going to want to have one of these. Needle nose pliers are your best friend when it comes to modding. I almost hit myself in the face with that. Now, if you don't have the next item, that's okay. I do recommend for mods that you actually get one. You're also going to want to get a rotary tool. Now, the rotary tools, you're going to want to have the different bits, the sanding bit. You're going to want to use the actual regular bit. This bit right here that I have on here is to actually cut through metal and through springs, because we might need to do a spring upgrade to get to that 100 feet per second. So we're going to go ahead and switch angles now here, so you'll be able to see my work area while I take everything apart. Just for the sake of time, I'm actually going to skip the unscrewing part. So I'm going to do a little creative editing, and we'll be right back when I fillet the blaster open. Okay, so I went ahead and got all the screws out. There are 14 total screws on this blaster, quite a large amount for how small this blaster is. And then afterwards, you want to just go ahead and actually stick the lever in here, and this should pop open relatively easily. You will see that this rubber piece, it does stick to the quote-unquote pretty side of the blaster. The internals are pretty basic. You have your plunger tube, the actual plunger rod, the spring, the barrel, your trigger, and your catch and catch spring. Now, getting this off, we're going to want to go ahead and actually take this apart real fast. And this is all one piece. I'm going to set this to the side for now, and we're going to look at the actual rod itself. Now, there are no screws here, which means you have to get creative, and you have to actually pop those open. That is a chore, but it is doable without breaking the actual blaster itself. I'm going to go ahead and actually do that. Unfortunately, that's going to take a lot of camera time because it is a timely process. However, you are going to want to use a smaller screwdriver to do that. So something even smaller than this should do the trick. I believe that this one, oh, I accidentally pushed my camera a little bit. I believe that this one is the one that we want, something like this size. So we're just going to be going around through here and then popping that off. Okay, so I was actually able to get this off. I did break one little piece here, but that's all right. You still get 2.5 points of a hold down. So that allows you to take out the spring. Now, the spring itself, it is pretty beefy. It is a strong spring. Now, look at this thing. That is a pretty strong spring. Of course, you are naturally getting 79 feet per second out of this. What I'm going to go ahead and want to do is I'm going to go and thread this actual spring in there and do a quick little cut. That way we can actually do a dual spring action here. and see if that'll help boost up the feet per second a little bit more. I know that when I did this before with my other blaster, I was able to use the spring off of a broken Ultra 4. This one, I believe, was for a upgrade for the sling fire. However, it was actually too strong to use using the priming mechanism. That lever action with the gears could not catch with this spring. So I want to say that this is a 9 kilogram spring. Hopefully when we add those two together, we'll get some more power out of this. I'm going to go ahead and actually grind this down using my rotary tool really quick, and then we're also going to go ahead and do the air restrictor removal as well. All right, so before I start, I want to go ahead and let you all know one of the things you want to make sure that you measure is where this coil is, because that is where you want to make your cut. So right around here is where I want to cut where my finger's at. I'm going to hold that down. And when you are using a rotary tool, I do always recommend safety glasses. You don't want to lose your eyes, kids. All right, so as you can see, the spring cuts out. And I will tell you, be careful, kiddos at home, because it might not have dragon power yet, but it is fire breath here if you try to touch this metal, this tip here, after using a Dremel on it. Now let's take a look here. That should thread nicely. There we go. Now I will say that we're going to put the sharps end closer to the top that actually hits the plunger. Put those both on there. And that just pops right back in. I want to put this little rubber stopper back in here. That way it doesn't damage the plunger when it hits the wall for the air restrictor. Just like that. Now I am actually going to head and take off the catch spring, only because I don't want that to go flying everywhere, because it's a small spring and I don't want to risk losing it. As for this leftover piece, I can throw it away. Now, I know some people might be wondering, oh, could you put a K25 in here? I mean, technically, you probably could stick a K25 spring in here. The actual plunger tube is thick enough, but the question is the catch strong enough? If this does not work, I do have a piece of K25 that's cut for my rival Saturn that I haven't put in yet. Who knows? I might try to put it in here, see if it fits in this thing, because I wonder what that would feel like with a K25. Now, next comes the annoying part. We actually have to pry this open and take out the air restrictor. Now, you want to be careful when it comes to prying this open. You don't want to break this little clip. So you take your flathead and just gently wedge it in and pry open. If you start to see white on the orange plastic, stop what you're doing, switch sides, and slow down. There is our air restrictor spring. Starting to get a whole collection of these things that I don't need. There's the air restrictor. And now we want to do a simple peg removal. Now the peg removal, you should be able to just grab with your needle nose and twist. Voila. Now, of course, you do have those rough edges in there. I'm actually going to cut the video really fast because I'm going to load up my Dremel and I'm going to sand this out so you can see what it should look like afterwards. All right, so I went ahead and actually used my little drum sanding tool here inside the actual barrel. Just quick little in and out with a small rotating motion. That cleaned up those jagged edges. And it also did sand down just a little bit in here in case I want to put a brass breech in there. So we're already starting with that process. Of course, you are going to need to use more than a rotary tool if you want to do a brass breech. If that is something that interests you, and we will do that later on in the video, you're going to want to have one of these. This is a 17/32 bit. I will tell you, you can find these at a Lowe's if you want to spend about $40. You can order these off of Amazon. I spent only $5, and it took about 1 day to deliver. All right, so the next part we're going to actually want to do is get rid of that wall for the air restrictor. I'm going to go ahead and use the Dremel to just poke a hole in there and whittle that down so we can actually put a big enough hole that way the plunger rod does not go all the way to the front and more air can come out. Now, one of the things I will tell you is that you will smell a little bit of smoke sometimes because of the burning plastic. That is normal. Now, there is a little bit of plastic that went inwards in there, so I just got to reach in there and pull that out now. And that is what we cut through. So for now, this should actually be able to go inside there without a problem. Got a little bit of resistance there that I don't want. It doesn't feel jagged in there. All the same, I'm actually going to put some grease in there, some lube, to make sure that that is well lubricated. Silicone lubricant on that plastic there. And put some on my O-ring as well. That too goes nice and smooth there. Now, of course, it's time to put it back together. So we're going to set our tube right, push our spring in up against the wall. Easier said than done, of course. Make sure that is secured in place. And then we put our catch into place as well. Got to get our catch spring back on there. And ta-da! Then our trigger. Now one thing you will notice is that this trigger does not have a spring on it. It has a peg for it where you should have a spring, but it does not. Okay. So this blaster is ready to test here after we do a quick little screw in. I'm not going to put all the screws in because I want to test the speed with just the air restrictor and the souped up spring. If we have to, we'll add one of these. So we were able to get the blaster back together. I'm going to do one elite dart and one mini dart. Woo! 107.8 with the elite darts. 110 with the mini darts. I'd say that was a successful modification, but can we push the envelope with a brass breech? All right, so we're back, and as you can see, with that simple spring modification, AR removal, and peg removal, with the mini darts, we were able to get up to 110 feet per second. Congratulations, you just one-shotted that dragon that is right behind that door. Now, adventurer, what happens if you're going up against an Elder Dragon? You're going to need a little bit more power. Some would say a little bit more dragon power. So with that, we're actually going to go ahead and do a breach upgrade to see if we can actually go, well, I don't know, maybe an extra 10 feet per second. If we can break 120, I'll be satisfied. Now, for those of you who've done modifications before, bear with me. I'm actually going to explain how to deal with this for beginners. So this is where you're going to need the brass tubing and the tube cutter. All right, so I went ahead and opened the blaster again and I got this tube out. And I'm going to measure now the brass tube here. So I put a mini dart in here so I can see how far the mini dart goes back. And I want to measure so that the tip of the tube is there. So I want to get this tube down to right around here. I'm going to mark my brass tube as such. Now with my tube marked, I'm going to grab the side that has the best looking bevel, which is right here. As you'll be able to see, it's easy to slide the dart in and out. Easy is respective because, you know, it's a much snugger fit than the plastic tube, for example. Now we're going to take our tube cutter, unscrew it, find our marking. We're going to clamp down a little bit. Now we just want it tight enough that it holds it in place. So it doesn't slide around. And we start rotating. And with each rotation, you tighten. Now finally, after what seems like forever, this tube came apart. I will tell you that if you have a longer tube, it is much easier to cut. And also, if you didn't have silicone grease on your fingers, it's easier to turn this tube. Now I just want to bevel this out a little bit. Now another trick you can use in case your tube cutter does not have this little utility tool, you can actually use needle nose to do the same effect. You want to give it a nice little bevel. And on one side, which is the side that's going to go where the dart is inserted, you want to trumpet it outwards a little bit. That prevents you from cutting up your darts and ruining them. So you can probably see that there, how there's a nice little edge on this side. The darts aren't going to get cut on that, as opposed to this side where it curves inward a little bit. But now how do we get this piece in here? You can just try to slide it in, but it's eventually going to catch. So what we're going to need to do now is that we're going to need to use that drill bit that I showed you earlier, and we're going to turn it counterclockwise so we can grind just a little bit of a layer of plastic there without burning it, and letting this fit more easily inside. So this process, it does take a little bit and some patience. Counterclockwise. You want to push in. You can see that some of the orange is in there. That means that we're getting a little bit up. Now, you can use a 1/2" bit. The reason that you want the 17/32 though is because that is the measurement of the tube. This is a 17/32 brass tube. Now, of course, it is hammer time. What do I mean by hammer time? We're going to want to take a hammer to the brass tube and hammer it in there. Though that actually went pretty deep in there. So we now have a nice little brass breech. That's clipped on properly. Doesn't feel, if it falls out of my hand, that's fine. And let's test it with the mini dart. That fits nice and snug in there. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the blaster back together. We're going to check it down against the chrono and see if we got an increase in the feet per second. Let's see if we can hit that sweet mark. Okay, so we are back from another chrono test, and I can honestly tell you we saw a little bit of a boost of speed, but I do not consider this a successful mod. I was hoping to get much more speed out of those darts. We did get 8 extra feet per second for the mini darts, and oh my gosh, I hear a displacer beast somewhere around here, just wandering around. Anyways. However, we sacrificed the standard size darts when it comes to their speed. We were before able to get 103 feet per second from a standard size dart. With the brass tube, the most I got out of it was approximately 99.8, and the average was around 96 feet per second. So that's kind of disappointing, to say the least. Now knowing that, would I have actually installed the brass tubing? Probably not, no. Not to get an extra 8 feet per second from a mini dart and sacrificing the standard size darts just for an extra 8 feet per second. Had I been able to get 126 feet per second or 130 feet per second, that's something else to think about, but not just a simple 8-foot boost. Is this blaster worth it? Yes, 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 1,000 times yes. This is a fun design. I really enjoy it. I think it's very comfortable. The priming handle, it is really comfortable to pull back, even with the increased spring capacity. So, again, this is just a joy. And it's real easy to take apart, which is kind of fun. The design is amazing. I wish Hasbro would go back to making more blasters like this instead of what they've been doing lately. I understand innovation's a thing. You always want to try something new, but respect the classics. The classic designs, I should say. Now, is it worth the original asking price? That's entirely up to you. The original Night Finder, when it came out, was right around the same price point as the Fireshot. It did have that extra light with it, and it was also mod friendly. This one, you do not have the light. You do have additional dart storage, but you don't have a tactical rail. So you can't even install a sight or anything on this. So would I pay $11 for it? I don't know. I don't think so, personally. Would I pay the $7.98 that they were asking for it at Big Lots originally? Yeah, I'd do that. Would I pay the $4 that I paid for it? Absolutely. Heck, for that price, I might buy about 5 of them and give them out as Christmas gifts to my nieces and nephews. But, oh no, if they're watching this, I guess they know what they're getting for Christmas. Anyways, I do want to remind you all, I am running that competition still. When I get 100 subscribers, I'm going to be giving away a free blaster. I do have the Elite 2.0 Phoenix, an Elite Turbine, and a X-Shot Crusher, as well as a Mastodon. So the only way you can win is if you can subscribe. And once I do hit that sweet 100, I will be making a video where I'm inviting everyone to send me an email. Those who do will be entered into a hat, and I will draw a name, and from that, I will be contacting you, and we'll make arrangements for you to get one of those free blasters. Until next time, thank you for watching Secondhand Blasters. This is Normatico. Keep on blasting.